The SKS Rifle. This is a Soviet-designed semi-automatic carbine that fires the 7.62 by 3.9, which has become extremely popular not only because of the SKS, but also because of the AK-47. The SKS was one of the first rifles designed for the 7.62 by 3.9 cartridge. Designed by Sergei Simonov in 1943 during the height of the Eastern Front against the Germans, the SKS was a 10-round box magazine semi-automatic rifle, much better than the Mosin Nagant. Now, one of the main reasons for the SKS design was, of course, semi-automatic, which was proven, especially with the M1 Garand. But after studying different conflicts between troops, typically it was between 100 and 300 meters. And so really a medium-range caliber was really what was needed instead of the large 7.62 by 5.4 rimmed, which the Mosin Nagant would fire. These were put into production in 1945. Right at the end of World War II, and actually was tested against German troops with some units. Now, the SKS is a piston-driven system, and the piston runs right through here, forces the bolt back, and so you have a good chrome-plated bolt. This has a stripper clip guide. The stripper fits right here, and then you can push down to go ahead and enter your rounds. It's a 10-round box magazine. Here's the release for the magazine itself. Can be snapped back into place. And of course, as you can see, it does have a last round bolt hold open. The manual safety is right here next to the trigger, and this just blocks the trigger function, which I really like this very positive safety system. The rear sight has up to 1,000-yard increments. The big thing about 7.62 by 3.9 is the combat effectiveness is only about 400 meters, and that's really stretching it. To be honest with you, about 200 to 250 is about what you're going to get out of this rifle. This is very similar in caliber to the 30-30. And in fact, many of these, when they first came into the country, and I'm sure they're still being used for that, are for deer hunting and just kind of what a lot of people would call a cheap man's deer rifle. Of course, now that's changed since the prices have caught up with the quality of the rifle. But this can also make an excellent hog hunting rifle. The front post is covered, and of course here you can use a sight tool to be able to adjust the elevation, and you can adjust windage right here on the side. Has an integrated cleaning rod, and then you have your bayonet. And on the Chinese models, it's a spike. The Russians and a lot of the Eastern Bloc have the blade. It's not sharp, it's chrome plated, but I think it can do the job. Fits right over the barrel, and the spring just lifts up and then it goes back into place. It's a really neat system for a bayonet. There's a sling attachment here right below the gas tube, then a rear attachment right here at the back of the buttstock. Has a stamped butt plate with a little trap door. Pop it, and then you can pull out your cleaning kit. Rods, brushes, then it just pops right back in. Now, unfortunately, the SKS was a little late to the game, and by the time this design came out, the AK-47 was right on the horizon. And of course, the ease in manufacture with the AK, it was so much cheaper to make with a detachable magazine, and how fast it was to make the AK-47. This rifle was really destined to be a rear echelon type rifle. But the SKS was a stopgap weapon until the AK could really be tested. And so during that time, the SKS remained in service, but mostly with reserve units, and served the Soviet Army up into the 80s and early 90s. You'll see the SKS in many ceremonies with most of your Eastern Bloc countries. A number of years ago, I did a review on the SKS. In fact, it was even with this rifle. And they really are just exceptional, fun shooting rifles, and yet they have a lot of purpose behind it. With the workmanship it takes to make this rifle, the current prices today are really starting to get up to what this rifle is really worth. And it's all about supply and demand. When there's a whole ton of these coming into the country, they sell real cheap. Once that supply meets the demand, it's all over, the price will start to rise. The SKS was used by over 42 countries, and over 15 million SKSs were made. 8 million of those were made by the Chinese People's Liberation Army. Now, the Chinese adopted the SKS in 1956, and they were particularly fond of the SKS, even over the AK-47. And one of the reasons they love to outfit outlying areas in frontier towns with SKSs so they could protect themselves as militia or security units. To field strip the rifle, just go ahead and pull back, make sure the gun is unloaded. Your gas tube release is right here next to your sight. I take a bullet tip, pull this around, get it up into this position. This will release your gas tube. Piston comes right out of the end. Now the spring is under tension, so we're going to release this and allow for the spring to come forward. To release the trigger housing, this needs to be depressed, and this will release your trigger housing. Once the safety is pushed forward, this will pop right off. Then you can release the box magazine. Now to remove the bolt in the bolt cover, you're going to want to go ahead and bring your bolt forward. This is going to relieve the tension on the recoil spring. Bring your takedown lever into a perpendicular position and then pull out. Remove the dust cover, and then you can take out your recoil spring. Note that the curled end goes into the bolt. Then just release your bolt, bring it back, get it past these rails, and remove the bolt assembly. Now you are completely field stripped. To reassemble, I have to go ahead and put my magazine into place. Then take your trigger housing, and these two nubs are going to go in place over the top of the box magazine. Once it's set into place, make sure that the receiver's on a hard surface, then give it a good sharp rap on the trigger housing. That sets the trigger in place and secures your box magazine. Now I leave my box magazine open and then take the bolt, and it fits right into place. Put it in the rear of the receiver and then just slide it forward. Taking the twisted end and go ahead and put it through your bolt. Make sure that your takedown pin is pulled out and perpendicular, and then just place on your dust cover. Forward, and then you're secure. Okay, we're going to take the piston spring, we're going to put it into place. Once you get it set in the hole, then turn this lever. And this retains the spring in this position. Reinsert the piston into the gas tube. Place the gas tube at the forward end and then bring it down. Then just drive the pin back down, your lever's in place. Check the action. Take your box magazine, close it, you're good to go. Now one of the good things about a rifle or a pistol that's very popular and the caliber's popular is that because there were so many of these that came into the country, a lot of companies started making accessories. But not only accessories, there were a lot of surplus accessories, such as this Chinese bandolier set that holds stripper clips, East German raindrop, different pouches, and all kind of oil bottles and cleaning bottles, and then like this Tapco sight adjustment tool and other things. In fact, there's a ton of different companies out there that make stock systems, make extended magazines, which Tapco makes a great 20 round, 30 round magazine for these that's detachable. And so you have a lot of options when you get something that has 15 million rifles behind it. Now in the early 90s, many of the SKSs were imported into the United States, and they became very popular, mainly because the price was just so cheap. And again, as I've always said, with these old surplus firearms, whatever they are, when they first come into the country, they're very inexpensive. That does not mean that the quality isn't there. The original Chinese rifles came in at $59 a piece, the Russians around $99. Now, last year they were around the $250 to $300 range. Now they're moving on up into the $500 range. And to be honest with you, I'm seeing fewer and fewer at gun shows and at gun shops. The SKS design is really high quality, an excellent rifle system, and also great for medium game or just a good day at the range, and can be used in a survival situation. And I highly recommend, if you ever have a chance to buy a good SKS, you'll really be pleased with these rifles. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. And here's your little cleaning kit. Oops, where's the top? Whoops. Pop this down and you can pull out your cleaning kit. Dadgummit. And then here at the, and then of course, and then a rear system. Now the big thing about a 7.62 by 3.9 is the maximum combat effectiveness. They went up from $59.99 on up, and then they got up into the what the? Your windage is perfect. I mean, just about an inch off, but you've got a great group right there.
This is the way the pros do it.
I heard you the first time. I just wanted to get on camera.
You're a pro butthead.